Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of the SEGA News Bits. And, news has been slow lately, so we decided to do this kind of discussion topic where we ask a question, we discuss it here, but we want to hear your opinions on this. The Nintendo Switch already came out. People are excited. It's everywhere on the internet. But what does that mean for Project Sonic 2017? They haven't really shown what the differences are going to be, or if there's any differences, or what the game is going to look like. There's so much mystery behind this title. But there's one thing that's kind of weird. They announced this title really early before the Switch was called the Switch, the NX. And they haven't shown anything, but something happened when the Switch came out, and that's like the Switch is pretty much underpowered compared to the competition. And this is a pro and the con. I mean, it's mobile. You can't expect to have a PS4 mobile. It's kind of hard to put all those components into a small tablet. There's some drawbacks. So I'm thinking, what's possible that these Sonic team is doing? Can they, degrade the graphics on the Switch? I don't think that's good for fans of the Switch. Can they have the same graphics but run them in lower resolution on the Switch? I think that's probably the best option. And then there's the third option, which I don't like either, which is basically remaking the game like they did Sonic Generations on the 3DS. And I think that's a total negative. I didn't like the 3DS versions. And I want to have a console version on the go, and I think that's a really appealing aspect of the Switch, more than the graphics are. What's your opinion on this, Barry?
Well, I personally think the day of Nintendo exclusive Sonic games, especially when it comes to 3DS exclusive Sonic games, are over. So, when you transition to the Switch, we're not going to be seeing a Switch version of with Generations, there was a 3DS version, and then there was the main console versions. What made it really odd, though, is that the Wii U, or the Wii, the Wii was out at the time, right? The Wii U was not out?
Yeah.
Right, Generations was not on the Wii. And so it's like, if you want the console version, you have to buy another console. And I think that shows you right there that Sega felt that the Wii was just not able to handle Generations. But I think now, like you were saying, I think they could scale it down. I mean, we see games right now that are playable both on the Wii U and the Switch, and I think there's a jump there. And so I definitely think that it's going to be the same game across all three of them, but it'll definitely be a lower, maybe like 720p or 900p or something like that. Maybe 30 frames per second.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with being 720p. I think the tablet looks great in 720p. I played some Zelda on the Switch, and I felt like it looked nice on the tablet. So if I'm going to play it mostly, I'm going to get a Switch, I'm going to get it to play it on the go, because that's like the draw for it. And sometimes on the TV. So I wouldn't mind it being 720p and running at a good frame rate.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, if I didn't buy a Switch, I know you didn't buy one, but should I get one, it would definitely be to replace the 3DS and not to be a new home console. Of course, I would play it at home, definitely on the go more than anything else, and obviously for any of the console exclusives. I cannot see myself buying games that are available on the PS4 on the Switch. Unless, there's very rare cases. Like, I'm a hardcore Sonic fan, and so when Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed came out, I bought like 3 versions of that game because I wanted to play it on the 3DS, I wanted to check out the iOS version, and then I had the Xbox 360 version. And so I could see myself doing that with Sonic Mania and Project Sonic 2017, buying multiple versions, especially if it means to play it on the go.
But this also brings up a good question. So that means that this game is probably not going to be pushing graphics to the extreme, especially, I think that was a big rumor that Project Sonic 2017 was going to have really nice looking graphics on the PS4, and that a lot of people kind of assumed when it was called the NX that it was going to have PS4-like graphics because Sega announced a Sonic game. And I know Sonic Unleashed really tried to push the graphics forward, and they really made a big deal out of their engine. It seems like that's not what Sonic Team is trying to do anymore. They haven't really talked about the graphics. They haven't really done anything really about the graphics. They haven't really showed anything. This is actually one of the first times I think Sonic Team's kept quiet for so long. It's almost going to be a year that they announced it, and they are barely going to start showing stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely been a longer stretch than other games. Of course, when you look at the timeline between the reveal of a Sonic game and the release of it, they're much shorter. I can't remember off the top of my head with Sonic Colors, but I feel like that came about, what was it, Jaron? Maybe around May of the same year it released, and it released in the fall. And so I feel like we're on about the correct timeline. I think Lost World was similar. It was revealed around the early springtime and released in the fall. So we're seeing Project Sonic 2017 a lot sooner. And to be honest, I think they showed us a lot more than we not that we deserved, but I think they showed us a lot more than they probably expected until that Sonic 25th anniversary event came up.
We don't really have that many Switch games. I think that's one of the problems with the Switch. There's not that many games being played on it, and most of the games they've shown this year are very Wii U-like graphics. I think one of the games that might be pretty impressive for a platformer was Mario Odyssey. So would that be a bad thing, having Mario Odyssey type graphics? It kind of looked like Sonic Generations in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that Project Sonic 2017 is going to look great on the Switch, but I think Sega's smart enough to be able to scale it between the consoles. I think the PS4 and the Xbox One version is going to look much better, but I don't think that's going to make the Switch version look that much worse. I mean, you look at Sonic Lost World, it doesn't look bad.
No, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. I mean, it's a beautiful looking game. Debate all you want about the gameplay, it runs at a very solid frames per second. I think, it's one of the most beautiful looking Sonic games on a console. Though I'd say Generations on the PC looks a lot better.
Yeah, and even Sonic Colors, the Wii version, if you play it on an emulator on PC and you upscale it to 1080p, it looks great. It looks like I wouldn't mind even this being a new game. But
yeah,
you see, my opinion on this whole thing is that the Switch has the portability. I think that's a selling factor for Sonic games, especially for the younger people that are always on the go, school buses. So I think I think they did a really good job announcing it on Switch. At first, I was a little hesitant because I guess the Switch is kind of a little bit better than the Wii U in terms of graphics.
Right.
But the more I think about it, I mean, the Wii U games, I never really sat there and said, wow, this Wii U game is terrible looking. I can't play it. Oh, too ugly.
Yeah.
But I want to hear everybody's opinion. What do you think is the Switch version is going to be? You think it's going to hold back the other console versions? And come on. What?
All right. That was like a boomerang.
What? All right.
I like that.